Hi everyone. So, the French, a real quirky group of people. Well, the white flag wavers of the world have recently got themselves into quite a bit of a sticky situation. And by a sticky situation, I mean mass riots all over the country and the potential downfall of the current parliament. Just another day in the world, you know? So what the heck is going on over there in Croissant Land? Currently, there is a bill trying to be pushed through in the French parliament that aims to raise the age of legal retirement from 62 years old to 64 years old and set the years of work required to 43 in order to receive pension. Psst, if you didn't know what pension is, it's a retirement plan that gives retired people a monthly income. On its own by itself, this is a pretty scummy thing to do. The more a government entity literally tries to force you to work before you can just settle down and retire is awful. But there's a reason behind this. France is aiming to expand their military budget for obvious reasons due to the world being on the brink of World War III. I guess their approach this time isn't just an instant surrender and they actually plan to fight this time. They also want to stop the national deficit from getting any bigger and feel that raising requirements for pension is the best way to do it. France spends about 15% of their GDP on pensions, and because of this has one of the lowest poverty rates of retired people all around the world. Their almost 15% is just about double the United States' 7.5%. And the Macron government seems to think the best way to ensure that the pension system doesn't collapse, and so the military budget can get higher and the deficit can get lower, they could shrink their pension spending if they made less normal people eligible for pension. They also have said that raising everyone's taxes isn't a possibility because they already believe that taxes are too high. And I just want to kind of nip this in the butt real quick. There is never a reason to change something that benefits everyday people when tax evading billionaires exist. Billionaires somehow never seem to pay enough taxes. Like, government needs a big chunk of money, easy, take a little bit from the people that have more than enough to make their bloodlines not have to work for like 5 to 6 generations. Kinda socialist? Yes. Wrong? No. And that's one of the factors leading to the violent riots taking place all over France right now. In all Western countries, there are billionaires playing the system to evade paying their fair share. We could fix a ton of the world's issues by cracking down on billionaires, but there's another major factor adding a lot of metaphorical fuel to the literal fires all over France. To make sure this bill passes, Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne called on Article 49.3 of the French Constitution, which allows the bill to skip over a vote in Parliament. President Macron has also said he's not willing to budge on raising the retirement age up to 64, even though 67% of French people disagree with raising the retirement age. This is so incredibly anti-democratic, it's not even funny. Leaders in democratic nations are put in place to do the will of the people. The defense budget and national deficit can wait when it comes to what the citizens who brought these people into power want in the first place. However, Article 49.3 also comes with a very big caveat. Article 49.3 of the French Constitution basically says that a bill may be passed without being voted on in Parliament, but it also opens up the possibility of having a vote of no confidence in the government taking place. And if this vote of no confidence passes, Macron's government will need to resign and a new election will take place. And the members of parliament that are opposed to this retirement bill have already stated that they plan to start a vote of no confidence and get Macron's government out. It's essentially a giant game of tug-of-war where the only losers are the French people, because no matter what, the French people always end up being the losers. The amount of unnecessary political bullshit over a stupid, easy problem to solve is utterly ridiculous, and the French people seem to agree. Like I said, they are rioting all over the country. Millions of workers are on strike right now. Garbage is being left all over the streets and is subsequently being burnt in the riots along with cars. There's constant clashes with the police, and the riots have been taking place right up to France's National Assembly. And honestly, that's kind of based. The people's elected officials clearly are not using their power responsibly, and it's having negative effects on all of them. So what are you supposed to do when your elected officials are actively going against the will of the people and are abusing their democracy to do things that the people don't agree with? Fuck the system up. I agree with how violent the protests are getting over there. Their democracy is under attack. Power is being taken away from the people by liar politicians, allowing the rich to keep their excess lifestyle and making life harder for the rest of the population. The riots are absolutely necessary. Oh, what? Should they be peacefully protesting the fact that the government's forcing them to be wage slaves even longer? Should we just put all of our faith in the politicians and democracy that's being actively curbed, while people that look down on all of us laugh from their multi-million-dollar mansions and face zero impact in any way? Sorry if that's a bit too radical and anti-politically correct to support riots while the mainstream says we should just trust the system because it's the best one we have. But over here in my country, when my founding fathers didn't like the oppressive government putting their foot down on people's necks, they shot the shit out of them till they fucked off and got the hell out of our country. Remember kids, rioting is always okay when the government is out to destroy you and turn your remains into a slave. This bill is so unpopular that even France's far left and far right are in agreement on this bill being horrible. More and more of the radical sides of France's parliament are supporting the vote of no confidence. Macron's far-right opponent claimed that this is a total failure, and the Communist Party leader said that Parliament had been humiliated and ridiculed. It's important to note, though, for my fellow Americans all over here, that almost all of Western Europe's far-right and far-left parties and people over there are a lot less schizo than the alt parties we have over here. Also, this isn't even the first time riots have taken place in France because of a raise in the retirement age. When an attempt on raising the retirement age was first proposed in 1995, riots took place, and that ended up stopping the retirement age ad movement. Eventually, it got raised up from 60 to 62, and now France is back in the same situation 28 years later, because governments just don't learn or care. Even if you're not French, all of this is still important. No matter where you are, do not doubt for a second that the government hates you and would absolutely enslave you if they could. No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, no matter what country you're in, no matter how much money you make, how old you are, what your gender is, what your race is, the government hates you and they would absolutely rather see you dead before they give you a cent. Or in this case, a euro. But with what's going on in France, a bit of my faith in humanity's been restored. It's really comforting to know that people haven't been so soyed down enough to the point where they'll just sit there while the government tries to force them into wage slavery even longer. I obviously hope that the will of the French people comes out on top. But on top of that, I hope people don't forget the lessons being taught by example in France right now. Wherever you are in the world, if your government is going against the will of the people, and this part is very important, do not misconstrue my words, if they are actively curbing democracy to get their way, then do what the French are doing, because your only other option is submitting to the people that would take your soul right out of you for their benefit. What's happening in France or any other similar event can happen anywhere else in the world, no matter how civilized you think your country to be. So please, do not forget about these French riots, because one day it could be your government trying to make your life worse for their benefit. But anyways guys, that's it from me. I know this video got pretty schizo today, but what else are we to do when the world's on fire and there's no one else to turn to? If you like this video, then you should absolutely subscribe to learn more about how to handle the real world. Alright guys, see ya.